Have you ever been in an argument with someone that you care about, and it's like you're watching yourself from the outside, hearing the words come out of your mouth that you instantly wish you could take back? Maybe you started out talking about something small, but somehow it escalated into both of you saying things that you don't mean. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. And more importantly, it's not a character flaw. There's real brain science behind why conflict can make even the most level-headed people lose their cool. The same neural networks that once kept our ancestors alive when danger was real, like spotting a predator, still run the show when we're emotionally threatened. And when those brain structures do get turned on, they can hijack your ability to think clearly. I'm Dr. Tracey Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health videos to help you strengthen your mind, fortify your brain, and build resilience. In the last video, we talked about how connection protects your brain. Today, we're going to look at what happens when that connection is tested by conflict and how you can keep your brain in control so that you can protect the relationship as well as your own resilience. When someone criticizes you, dismisses your feelings, or makes you feel misunderstood, your amygdala, your brain's alarm system, reacts in milliseconds, and it can't tell the difference between a real physical danger and a social or emotional threat. And this happens through a process called neuroception. Your brain automatically scans for cues of safety or danger in someone's face, voice, or body language. A harsh tone or a sharp facial expression can set it off, even if there's no actual danger. Once the amygdala fires, it signals to your hypothalamus to flood your system with stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. Your heart rate spikes, your muscles tense, and you're primed to fight, flee, or freeze. But here's the tricky part. That chemical surge can partially shut down your prefrontal cortex, the brain area that's responsible for reasoning, planning, and impulse control. And that's why you might suddenly hear yourself saying, "you always," or "you never," even though you know these statements aren't accurate. And then there are the mirror neurons, specialized brain cells that automatically mimic what you observe in other people. If the other person starts to escalate, your mirror neurons tend to match their emotional tone. It's like emotional contagion. Their nervous system ramps up yours, and yours ramps up theirs, creating a feedback loop that's hard to break once it starts. The best shot at interrupting this cycle is to catch it early, before your amygdala fully takes over the conversation. And your body will tell you first. Your jaw tightens. Your breathing gets shallow. You feel heat in your chest or your face. Your shoulders creep up toward your ears because you're all tense. These are not random. They're your nervous system shifting into defense mode. Recognizing them gives you a chance to step in before your prefrontal cortex goes offline. Once you notice those early signs, this is when you pause. And I've talked about the pause method before, but here's how it works specifically in the middle of a relationship conflict. P is for pause and notice. Example, you're in a disagreement about chores. You hear the other person say, "you never help around here." And you feel your chest tighten. And that's your moment to stop, not mid-sentence, but internally, long enough to take a single slow breath before responding. A is for acknowledge what you're feeling. Name it to yourself. I'm feeling accused, or I'm feeling underappreciated. This isn't about admitting fault, it's about activating your prefrontal cortex and getting some space between the trigger and your reaction. You're also not focusing on the other person. This person is always nagging me. This is about you and what you're feeling. U is for understand the deeper need beneath the surface. Often, the fight about dishes isn't about dishes. It's about feeling valued. The conversation about money might actually be about security. See if you can identify what's really at stake for you, and if you can, for them. And one way to do this is to ask yourself, if I could wave a magic wand and instantly fix what's bothering me, what would that give me emotionally? Would it give me respect, safety, appreciation? That answer may be able to tell you what the fight is really about. S is for select a response that protects the relationship. Ask yourself, what would my wisest self say here? That might mean asking a clarifying question instead of launching into a counterattack. And E stands for engage, with the intent to repair, not win. This doesn't mean that you have to agree with everything that's being said. It means that your words, tone, and body language send the message, I want us to get through this intact. Here's an example. Imagine your partner says, "You're always on your phone when we're together." You pause, you notice the instinct to defend yourself, and you take a breath. You acknowledge, "I'm feeling criticized." You understand, this really isn't about the phone. He wants my attention. You select. You choose to say, "I didn't realize I was doing that so much. Do you want to set aside some phone-free time tonight?" And you engage. Your tone stays calm, your body posture is open, and you've shifted the moment from defensive to collaborative. Sometimes the other person is already dysregulated and their amygdala has taken over. And that's where co-regulation comes in, using your own nervous system to help settle theirs. Your vagus nerve plays a big role here. It carries signals from your body to your brain and from your brain to your body that influence your heart rate, your breathing, and emotional state. The calmer your signals, the more likely theirs will start to match yours. So here's how you can do it. You slow your speech and keep your tone even. You maintain steady, slower breathing. You keep your posture open and non-defensive. In this situation, you're not just trying to act calm. You want to be calm. And if you can't get there, forcing a calm tone while you're still boiling inside can feel condescending to the other person. And in that case, the most effective move might be, we're both too wound up to have this conversation right now. Let's take a break and come back to it later. When the amygdala is in charge, your brain's primary mission is to defend, prove you're right, point out their mistakes, and protect your ego. But defense language tends to trigger the threat system even more. Defense language is, "That's not what happened," or "You're overreacting." Repair language is, "I can see you're upset, and I want to understand what's behind that." Or if that's a little too therapy-ish for you, you could say, "What you heard isn't what I meant, but I can see how it landed that way." Repair shifts the goal from winning to understanding. It acknowledges the impact, even if the intent was different, and it signals that the relationship matters more than the scoreboard. And timing is important. If they're still too activated, they may not be able to take in your repair attempt. And in that case, you just wait until you both have downshifted. A bit about boundaries. Boundaries help keep conflicts healthy, but how you phrase your boundaries can determine whether they land or backfire. A poorly framed boundary can sound like an attack. "You need to stop yelling." "You're impossible to talk to when you're like this." That same limit, phrased differently, can lower defenses. "I want to keep talking, but I need the volume to come down so I can stay present." Or, "I can hear you better when we both slow down a bit. So can we try that?" In both cases, you're protecting your limits, but you're also sending signals for safety and cooperation. To make this feel natural, you need to practice it. You wouldn't try a brand new skill for the first time in a high-stakes situation, and conflict resolution is the same. Start with low-intensity moments, a mild irritation with a coworker, or a small disagreement with a friend. And then every time you notice your physical signs that you're getting triggered, and you pause and choose a more regulated response, you're reinforcing a neural pathway. And over time, this becomes your new default, not because you've memorized steps, but because your brain has rewired itself for calmer conflict handling. The goal here isn't to avoid conflict or never feel triggered. Conflict is part of every close relationship. The goal is to keep the connection intact while you work through the disagreement. Handled well, conflict can even strengthen a bond. It can clarify boundaries, help unspoken needs come to light, and build trust in each other's ability to weather tough conversations. So here's your takeaway from managing conflict in an emotionally regulated way. Learn your body's early warning signs. Use pause to slow the reaction. When possible, use your own calm state to co-regulate the other person, and shift from defending to repairing, and set boundaries in ways that protect yourself and reduce the other person's sense of threat. In our next video, we'll look at what happens when you manage conflict well, but you still feel isolated. And we'll talk about how loneliness affects your brain and practical ways to build the connections that you need for long-term resilience. For now, think about the last conflict that you had. What were your first physical signs? How might that have gone differently if you had paused right then? Conflict doesn't have to mean disconnection. With the right tools, it can become an opportunity to strengthen and not weaken your connection. Thanks for watching today. See you next time.